guess I will just start talking. So, welcome to Life Interrupted, which I don't know if everybody read on Facebook probably what it was about. But what it is about is in this life, things will come up that will stop you dead in your tracks, sometimes literally dead in your tracks. So loss really is at the foundation of it. So what is it that you actually lost? So some of the examples can be you can lose your health, you can lose a job, you may lose a relationship, you may lose a child in a different fashion, not necessarily death. You may have someone die, you may lose a home, you may lose a pet. You know, and I'm sure everybody in here has something that they can relate to that they actually lost. For me, so I'll give you some of my background if you don't know what it is. I have been doing holistic health, I guess. Kinds of my hats were all the way up to here with all the different titles and credentials and all that I had gotten. And then all of a sudden it was like the perfect storm hit in my life. And some of that was with a fall. That was kind of the catalyst with it. And getting shots in my eyes, which actually helped to cancel out my kidney function. Yippee. So total renal failure, and actually really lost the eyesight. So a lot in my life got stopped. You know, the 20 years that I had been traveling uphill, all of a sudden totally went downhill, down to rock bottom. I could no longer do the artwork that I had done my whole life. I could no longer, I had a talk show, blog talk, on Blog Talk Radio, but I couldn't read the copy, so cancel out that. So I was no longer interviewing people. The things that I could hold on to, though, have slowly but surely been coming back in. And giving this talk is one of them, because everybody here who knows me knows Elaine can talk. It's just, as the sisters up front kind of giggle, Elaine can talk. So basically 1 year ago, last April, I almost died. So I was heading into renal failure, and I got the flu, and I was dying. I wound up in the ICU, vomiting blood and all that. I dropped boatloads of weight, which for some reason in my head I thought that was okay, but it really wasn't. You know, it's funny, you try to shift your mind, you know, somebody who's always had been weight conscious, to get all the way down to something that could be blown over in a windstorm very easily. It was not healthy. However, the good point is that when I finally made my way out of the ICU and back at home, I had a very close circle of friends, because when you go through something like this, the large circle drops off. It just does. People can't handle when you're in that state. So if they are not very on the inner circle, they can't watch this. They can't be around this. They don't know how to react. They don't know how to talk to you. So you really do find who is there for you. And it's generally a very small group. So if you find yourself being faced with cancer or whatever the trauma is in your life, don't be surprised if people just drop off. It's going to happen. Pay close attention to the people who are still there for you, and for the new people who will come in. So anybody here having dealt with cancer by any chance within the family or within yourself? Yeah. So you may actually know what I'm talking about then, because, only a certain amount of people can come in and actually understand what's going on. So that's part of my story. Now, the other part is that before I was faced with this near-death experience that I had last April, I was already dealing with death. That was part of my job, is that I would help to counsel people that were on their last leg, and quite often they did die. Sometimes they didn't, but quite often they did. It was just part of what I did, though, was to try to get them so that they felt more comfortable with this transition, the end stage transitions that we are all going to go through. Not one person in here is not going to go through this. You are going to go through this. What we can do is hope that we go in our sleep, because it's almost that state, you're already part way there, your brain waves and all that, you're in that sleep state, and then you just kind of go. That's the best scenario. Are most of us going to do that? Oh, it would be nice, and I wish it for all of you, that you go someday in your sleep, but you may not. So after I had that near-death part, I was in the place where I could not walk. It was really tough to get up and just go to the bathroom. And once you go to the bathroom, you can't even get up off the commode. It's just the facts of things, that are going on. I was, of course, in no state of mind to be able to teach anybody. All my classes went out the window. Even teaching yoga, can't do that if your eyes bleed when you bend over. Not a good move, so that goes out too. There's just an awful lot of things that drop off. Now, even during that, I was telling people who, were having their own problems, have hope. And I highly believe in hope. And the acronym for hope for me is having optimism placed everywhere. Always. It all starts with how you feel. How are you going to move forward when it seems like moving forward is absolutely impossible? How are you going to move forward? And how are you going to deal with moving forward in a totally different way? So the one thing that I want to point out is that when you go through that, the biggest thing that hurts is your heart. You have full heartache. So what does that mean? If you've lost somebody to death, that's great heartache. People around you who are watching you, that's heartache. For me, my heartache was looking at the fact that I could no longer paint or draw or teach yoga or run all the other classes that I always ran. What I did realize is that I could talk. And people laugh, but it's big. I can talk. So, and I am back to a point where I can walk. Wow, that's awesome. And you get by with a little help from your friends. The group that is the inner circle. And then you will find that a newer circle starts to develop. And they will support you in what you do. A lot of people that are here today because you are supporting me in, getting back on the horse again. So, and I thank you for that. So how did I do that? When I go into dialysis, because I am on dialysis, again, end-stage renal failure, I go into dialysis 3 days a week and have my blood taken out and run through this machine, and then it comes back in again. You get stripped of a lot of vital things in your blood, like microbials and protein and all that. It's stripped, but it also strips the toxins, which is what is keeping me alive right now. Without that, I would die in a short order of time. With that, it's still a limited time. So I am, staring death in the face. But aren't we all? Truly. Without that, I could still get hit by a bus tomorrow, God forbid. And buses are big enough so that I generally can see them coming. So, that's good. It's smaller, compact cars, I better have hold of somebody's arm while I'm crossing the street. So, we never know when something like this is going to come up. So, I mentioned heartache. So I'm going to take us through a process that has helped me. I am going back to different studies that I've done because I am an advanced angel therapist, I am a shaman, and I am also a master intuitive coach. So there's, and guess what, and a medium. So there's these pools of thought that I can pull together and actually bring through a process that can help you to also have hope and to know how to tackle these things so that you can move on. Because honestly, if you're here in this room, aren't you actually more alive than dead? I'm thinking, yeah, for me, I am more alive than dead. When I'm dead, I'm dead. When I'm alive, I'm going to use it. You see people who move into, let's say, grief, and I'll use my father for this. When my mother died, he never moved out of that grief factor, and he spent the days of his life that were left going to the cemetery every day, a couple of times a day, really not living. That is not a way to live, to go and talk to a stone that's planted in a ground and not have interaction with people. While we're here, we're meant to interact with people. So I'm going to take you through a process that takes you into your heart. If you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes, then don't, but I do suggest, so that you can kind of follow along and not be distracted by Elaine waving her hands, doing this and that, to close your eyes and just really kind of get into this. If you want to, so that you can focus on your heart, you can put one hand over your heart, but it's not necessary. And then I would say, right now, just begin to connect with your breath and calming down and trying to still any thoughts that you have about what may transpire the rest of the day. And then begin to imagine your heart as a structure of any kind. Now, the physical heart has 4 chambers. So this structure will also have 4 chambers. And whatever this structure is, you're going to begin to enter into it. So just picture some type of entrance. And anything will do. Try not to be analytical here. Just anything will do. And as soon as you step inside, you're going to be greeted by the chambermaid. Now, the chambermaid, most of us know what a chambermaid is, and the chambermaid picks up any debris. She just picks up the chambers. So it is an angel of sorts, and that is going to be her job, is to take that kind of stuff out. Now, she will have something to be able to throw that stuff into. And now as we enter in, I want you to keep in mind that Spirit has a way of speaking to you symbolically. So anything that you see, try not to pick it off and say, yeah, that's impossible. And anything that is there can also speak. It can communicate with you in some form. So the first area that we move into is going to be the physical area. We have different sections of our spirit. So we have the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual. So we're going to enter into the physical. Now, this chamber, again, it can be inside or outside. It doesn't matter. What do you see? Begin to look around it. And in this physical area, you will begin to see the repercussions for you from your heartache of whatever it is that is interrupting your life. It may pop up just being something that you totally did not expect. And I don't want to give any examples, because if I do, you'll immediately begin to think that. So just begin to look around. And what is happening because of this interruption within your physical self? Now, as you look around, it's very important throughout all of these spaces to use your power of discernment of what is good and what is bad. Quite often, here's an example, but I won't give a symbol. Quite often, when somebody is going through a disruption in their life, they will turn to eating. Maybe that's in your life. Or maybe the exact opposite, and they move into starvation. So when you can decide what is good or what is bad, what is positive, what is negative, is it something within your physical self that needs healing to be able to get rid of this thing, then I want you to give it to the chambermaid who is following you around. And she'll stuff it into whatever she's carrying, a barrel, trash bag. Maybe she's just using a dustpan and a broom. Whatever is there. And she'll take it off. Actually, there's no problem with size and matter and all that. The impossible can happen here. Now, we'll move into the next place. If we had more time, we'd spend more time here, because everybody can really look around and see what's going on and say, oh yeah, I do this because this happened. And that leads us into the next one, which is the mental chamber, the mental area. And the mental and the emotional is almost inseparable. They are together. And within that mental area, you will have dialogue. Dialogue that runs over and over and over and over and over and over and over. It's the thing that runs through your head at 3 a.m. Most of us know that one. It's that voice that you can't quiet. And you may not even realize that it's somebody else's voice that's doing that dialogue, because you've been listening to it for so long that you've taken it on as part of your own. So picture what that would look like. You know, is it a movie camera on a loop? You know, pointing up to a white screen and just kind of running over and over again? Is it a record player that's skipping? You know, what is bringing out that dialogue, or is it something that you look at it and go, I don't even know what that is, and why is it speaking those words? So it's the repeat dialogue and those mental things where you turn around and you actually make something up to try to justify, because now we're trying to justify different things, different behaviors, and that stems us into our emotions. And the emotional chamber, you can actually see sometimes within like textures, objects, atmosphere, and those will all really kind of describe the emotions that you're holding on to. And do you allow all emotions to be expressed? Because that's something else that can actually happen, is that you turn off the emotions that can actually heal you, and you go with the emotions that can be very destructive for you. So it's not a matter of really getting rid of any emotions, but it is a matter of containing those emotions that are not helping you to heal, and shifting and changing them. Now, if you are a very emotional person, then odds are you are probably an empath. And an empath is someone who feels all emotions, everybody's, far past your own emotions. So are you surrounding yourself with everybody else's emotions and taking that on? And if you are trying to heal from your life interrupted, then is it an avoidance tactic of your own to take on everybody else's emotions, everybody else's mental problems? That's another avoidance tactic. It's like taking the best part of you and putting it in a closet and saying, I'll just get to you later. And that is no way to be able to move forward. So just spend just a little bit more time going through that mental and emotional areas and looking at the symbology and the things that may be there. Now, you may also find that a certain person in your life pops up and you can actually see them. And if you choose to get rid of them, please understand you're not getting rid of them. You're getting rid of an aspect of them that is not serving you well. If it is an aspect of somebody that you know that is standing there and they are full of encouragement and positivity, then you can certainly keep them there. That's a teacher. But if you are not learning anything, then it's important for you to bottle it up, and you don't feel bad about it. It's time to move that out. As you begin to move those things that are not moving you forward and having you live life to the fullest, there's no room for the good to come in. So you've got to empty that out first so that more good can come in. All right. Now I want you to gaze around again, just quickly before we move forward. Back to the physical, into the mental, into the emotional. Anything that is not for your highest and best, give it to the chambermaid. And again, you're not going to hurt. If it's a person, you're not going to hurt the person. It's an aspect of them. It's not them, actually, that you're moving out. Now, we can move into the last chamber. But what you're going to pass through before you move into this last chamber is like a decontamination area. So we've all seen it before. They walk through this whole hallway and there's like spray coming at them, and there's lights going off and all that. And so you're going to go through something like that so that you can enter into that last chamber. Now, the chambermaid does not come with you, and all your worries and cares really don't come with you into this next stage. What it does when you go through this decontamination area is bring you into a spiritual soul meeting place. And here is only authentic. Everything, everybody's heard, the God I am. Well, it's all in that mode of thought. This is pure divine essence that you are breaking down. So your judgment stays behind. Your animosity stays behind. Your optimism moves forward with you. Your love moves forward with you. And you move into this space, this place of the great meeting of the minds. Now, within this space, it can be something like sitting at the round table, the Knights of the Round Table. It can be sitting around like a campfire, or in a gentleman's library with high back leather chairs. Someplace where it is like a meeting type place. It can certainly be anywhere outdoors, but everybody will be gathered there. Now, you may not be able to recognize everybody, but you have just come in within your spiritual essence. So moving in with that spiritual essence in mind, somewhere within there will be a flame of some kind. If you're sitting around a campfire, well, it's pretty obvious, it's right there. If you're within like a gentleman's library, it would be within the fireplace. And that is symbolic of what I will call the Holy Spirit. But you can call it whatever you want. This is just the essence of divinity that is there. Now, what will also be there, and you can see them because they don't leave you ever, is your guardian angels. And you may not know their names, but they are there. One to the left, one to the right. And they will help to usher you in. And then you will begin to see beings that are sitting around. Now, what's great here is that you can become the observer. All these helpers have seen all the other chambers that you have just come through. And they will be the counterpart to the problem that you got rid of. So if you got rid of Jabba the Hutt in the beginning part, overeating and shoving food in its mouth, then perhaps the counterpart is a wonderful apple picker. You just don't know what's going to pop up here. So they can all look over those. It's almost like if you were in a skybox at a football game, and you can look out and see what's going on in those other chambers. So you will have someone there that can help you with the problems within the physical, depending upon the repercussions of whatever is happening within your life. And they can actually go with you to that particular chamber. And if you ask them, because you must always ask for this help, you must ask them for the help to be able to rectify whatever it is that's going on within the physical, to be able to help you move forward. That does not always mean a physical cure. Just bear that in mind. It doesn't always mean a physical cure. It just may mean making the best out of the physical that you have left. Because again, we have an expiration date on these bodies. We just all do. but how can you make the best out of it? What are the best choices that you can make? And then you will have a helper within this meeting place that will help you with the mental. And one of the biggest things with that, to be able to stop that inner dialogue that is no longer serving you, is forgiveness. So that spiritual deity can actually help you to move into that place of forgiveness and move into that place of understanding, and to help you to move that aspect of that person, even if it's an aspect of yourself, to move that aspect out. Now, if it is somebody that you truly, truly, truly care about, but you know that they are not good for you, I suggest taking that helper within that emotional and mental aspect down into that place, and then you will see that person and ask the chambermaid if she can take it outside, and I'm going to tell you to have a rose garden full of pink roses. And that aspect gets shrunk down and then buried within the rose garden. So you know it's taken care of, but you do not have to tend to it. It's now in the hands of Spirit, who will take care of it. I think everybody can probably imagine something that they would like to offer up to that rose garden.
Want me to hold it?
Okay. And now you can continue to fill this spiritual soul meeting place with any of the helpers that you need, and know that you can call them into those other chambers to help you. Now, this is kind of a quick overhaul with it. So this is something that should generally take time, and you do it over and over and over again, because if you are meeting challenges within this existence, within this physical existence, then you're going to have to revisit here. But it does help you to move along. It does give you hope. It does give you a direction. What direction am I going to go in? It's better than just standing still, although standing still for a short amount of time is okay. We have to gather up, our grief, our thoughts. We have to honor where we're at. That can take a little bit of time, but you can't stay there. And then begin to see what happens with those areas. As you move ahead and you have Spirit help you out, how has those other places changed? And what can you actually now afford to share with others? All right, and when you're ready, you can say thank you to everybody that's within that spiritual soul place. Know that that flame, wherever it is within there and whatever it is, will always continue to burn. You always have the essence of the Holy Spirit with you. And then you can begin to see that just kind of dissolve away and come back to the here and now. Knowing that the heart is always one. Each and every chamber within the heart makes that heart beat. And you want to move out of heartache. All right. How is everybody? I can't see your faces, so you have to just kind of tell me.
Good.
Okay, I love the giggles. So, questions about that and going through that and how to go through that. Did I lose anybody along the way? Speak up. Maria, did you get through the whole thing?
I was thinking everything before you said it, it was really weird. Like, my chamber was a car, and I have a bag of cookies in my car, and I wanted the chambermaid to take those cookies before I get back in the car.
Love it.
And, yeah, you were just like, it has 4 doors, you know, 4, and.
Yep.
Anyway, and then the place I went to at the end was my gazebo, and the fire is in the pit, and that's where I gather and hang out and just chill.
Yes, yes. And did you find that the helpers that you needed were there?
Well,
Or maybe not
Not
all
yet.
yet?
Yeah, not yet.
Which is very common. You might go into that spiritual meeting place and you go,
Well,
oh
then
geez,
now.
do I not have any helpers? Because I don't see anybody. It takes time, and you have to be able to recognize what the problem is before the helper can be there. You know, they're more than willing to help out, but you have to see what is it that I actually need, and you know, because why would you call a window washer if you don't have any windows? You know, it's that kind of a thing. So, yeah, did anybody else get a little stuck, like somewhere within any of the chambers, or did you find that you could move through it? People get so embarrassed to talk. I'm gonna call on Lisa.
Oh, I knew you were gonna call me.
How did you know? See?
I don't know.
You knew.
Okay, yeah, I actually, in the first chamber, I was stuck, trying to get rid of a lot, but because it was empty.
Oh.
Really strange, yeah.
Okay.
And then moving through, mine, instead of it actually being, it was part of physical structure, but a lot of it was more like the seasons out the window changing.
Yes.
And that's how I kind of moved through those seasons. And then my final place was actually similar to hers. It was actually a glass, like a gazebo type structure with the fire in the middle.
Okay.
That's my way too.
Okay.
And relaxing and chilling and getting rid of it all. So,
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, it was, and no, there weren't a lot of people there to help me, but that's my thing. That's my fault, because I'm the helper. And yeah, so I get that, yeah.
That is something that
Resistance to
happens
that
quite
help.
often
Yeah.
with somebody, and I can relate because I was always the helper. Have been for, you know,
Right,
like
right.
20 years now, the helper. So for me to turn around and actually receive help, like, really? And I always thought I had a balance, you know, and until you're
Right.
splayed out in a, you know, Johnny, and
Right.
somebody's wiping your butt when you're getting off the commode,
Mhm.
you know, that's just, it's a totally different space. It's a
Right.
place, and you have to be thankful for that, which is really tough. And letting people in,
Mhm.
yeah, letting them see you at your most vulnerable
Exactly.
points.
Right.
Yeah, and that's a good lesson. So that's something that you can actually work on now, your vulnerability. Are you good with that? No.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And how do you think you, excuse me, and how do you think you go about that so you're not feeling the way you might feel like being vulnerable? Because, no, like for instance, if I have to have a surgery, I'm pissed. Because I have no control over the situation.
Nope, you don't.
And that just, it freaks me out. My wife's there to help me, but I fight it. I'm like, I just.
Okay, so it's,
Yeah, I know one
Yeah.
mess, and they're good, and they do their thing, and.
Yeah.
But it's just that, like you said, the vulnerability, or, and who wants to feel that? Cause then a lot of people do, I think. If you feel vulnerable, it's like you're weak, they look at you and, you get judged, and, so now you gotta deal with that, and,
Okay, so let me give you a symbology that helped me because I didn't wanna be vulnerable, I'm the rescuer. Ha,
That's right,
guess
yeah.
what? So I turned around and I asked for help with that, with one of those lovely spiritual beings, and I will tell you that it was Archangel Michael. And Archangel Michael has a shield that he
Yeah,
could
Michael.
hold in front of my heart so that I did not give a crapola about what anybody was saying about me or judging about me or anything like that. I could feel the strength from the heavenly being saying, it's okay. And that gave me the opportunity to be able to learn from it. Because I've been through multiple surgeries now. I make sure I bless all the doctors, all the nurses, everybody who is there, seeing me in my vulnerability. And I don't care, well, I do care, but it doesn't bother me so much of what they're thinking about me. It's like, I have to go through this, so what am I going to get out of this that's a positive? And you know what it gave me? Empathy. More empathy. Like I needed more of that, but I guess I did. So that I could actually understand what other people in the same boat were going through. Because, we can all say, oh, you poor thing, and how is that you're doing? And really, I was good at imagining it, but now I know it. So you've actually been given the gift of knowing it. And that means that part of it, you can help somebody else with.
No,
As
I'm
soon as you
working
look
on
to
it.
move through it.
I'm working on my empathy and compassion.
Good.
20 years ago, I had
Yep.
none. You get it done, that's that. Just
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yep.
But over the years, my wife has taught me to be more, you have to be a little more empathetic. You think of the other person.
Exactly.
That's how I learned that. That's not a.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
compassion, I'm a little more compassionate.
Yeah. We move into a whole boatload of compassion. Because everybody's got something. Everybody. And I could have stood up here and told you my whole very involved story, blah, 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 but everybody's got a story of something that they've gone through that has made them, totally put the brakes on, or the axle fell off, whatever it is that just stops you dead in your tracks. And then you have to look and say, okay, now what? Now what? Now what's coming? I think you're gonna be okay.
Oh, I am.
did just point to,
I'm a problem solver.
yeah. There you go.
Whatever it is, I'm gonna solve it.
Yep.
Quickly.
I know a lot of problem solvers in here, actually. Yeah, and this is just one way to be able to solve your problems and to move forward. Who here has a really hard time receiving? No, yeah, I know. There's a few in here I happen to know. And that's one of the things that's probably the biggest through this, is to learn to receive and say thank you. And to know, because if you were like me, if I received something in the past, then I had to, equal that giving back. Oh yeah, so they gave me this, so I'll give them that. And it was always a back and forth. And sometimes you don't have it to give. You don't have it anymore. So you learn to receive, and you learn to refill. And then you have something to be able to give again.
So does that mean you're gonna let me buy lunch more when I pick you up?
That's funny. Yes. Yes. See, it's always a work in progress.
Yes, I know.
Yep. Always. How did you do, Annie?
I did fine. I had a garden at the end with a fire pit, And
Perfect.
there were angels there. There were a lot of angels. And I found the first chamber. I was cleaning cobwebs.
All right. You know what? If you don't have an answer for what that was,
Mhm.
then go back and revisit that.
Mhm.
You know, because cobwebs to me will mean something to me than it does to you.
Mhm.
And that's a lot of it, guys, is the symbology is you specific. Now, I did throw out one of my symbologies because when I first did this, I literally did have Jabba the Hutt. Everybody's seen that on Star Wars, right? And he's like shoveling stuff in his mouth and everything. And I thought,
That makes me feel better. I saw Jesus and Frank Zappa.
Frank Zappa, that's
Frank
so
Zappa,
funny.
and don't you eat that yellow snow. No. Don't eat yellow snow, honey.
That's funny.
Yeah, for me, I knew it was that aspect of myself that can do emotional eating. A lot of us have that, you know, and I thought I had a handle mostly on that, but I've gone through a lot. And then again, because I was so sick and down to like 118 pounds, which was not good for me, it was very bad for me, and dying and all that, I was actually told to eat. And then it really could have stopped. So the apple picker is truly my aspect at the end, which actually helps me to pick better choices. Now, I do have to eat according to, you know, renal failure, kidney diet, all that. It's important for me to eat that way, and it's not a way that I was used to eating. Not at all. Right now I have to eat protein because it strips out of your blood. So, and before that I was vegan. So it's been a big, you know, life change with that. And now after I get a kidney transplant, which, you know, we'll knock on wood that doesn't take too long, you're back to, you probably shouldn't eat protein. So that might mean I might be back to probably not vegan, maybe vegetarian and less protein and all that. But, you know, I have this thing about food and always having to change it. And that was in my physical aspect. But I now have an apple picker. And he even comes with a little ladder. You know, it's pretty cool. A bushel full of apples, and he'll go and pick more. And that's good, because he's going to help me to pick the right choices for wherever I'm at. I can have that help. So, how'd you do, honey?
Well, I don't know, sometimes in meditations I see colors like green, purple, something.
Is that mostly what you saw, was colors?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, from experience, because I've taught meditation for like years and years, when somebody gets into just seeing the colors, they're not quieting their mind enough. They're seeing the energy behind the words that I'm speaking. So you can probably see that. But for you to get to a point where you can actually visualize, it might take a little bit of practice. Now, I don't mean sitting cross-legged on the floor, you know, although you can do that. But to allow the imagination to run, if you've ever heard of Carl Jung, this is, you know, the active imagination. And you want that to go, because that's where you're actually going to access your subconscious. And it will be honest to you. It's accessing those areas that may only come up within your dream state. And everybody here dreams, even if you don't think you do and you don't remember it. Everybody here does move into that dream state. So I've always had a quite active imagination, so it's easy for me to move into that. But if it's something that you're more analytical most of the time, then it might be a little bit harder to access. And it will just take practice and allowing yourself to see. Maybe to see the Michelin tire guy come up in something, you know. Or if it's easier for you to just wrap your head around angels, and you know, I'm a huge angel believer and I work with them all the time. It can just all be angels, if that helps.
Oh, the colors could be angels, is that what you mean?
You can move it into that and believe that it is that, and then see how it starts to formulate. And so you don't push it, you don't,
Yeah.
shove it, you don't work too hard. This is actually a place within your mind that you just kinda let it flow. So I'm glad you brought that up, because you're not alone in that, and some
Yeah.
people do hit that.
Oh.
And again, it's energy work. Do you know anything about energy work?
Yeah, I think I very dabbled in a little bit, yeah.
Dabbled in it a little bit? The whole org
Oh,
field?
well, like
and
Reiki
the-
and receiving, maybe like Reiki, that kind of thing.
No, more studying about the energy body.
The
Um,
chakras,
Chakras. There's Barbara Brennan, who has, been around for forever and ever. She's written quite a few books. It's all about, energy. And that might be a good place for you to kind of look that up. The Barbara Brennan School of Energy is out there, but that might be too much. Go into, of course, I've studied with Doreen Virtue. Have you heard of her?
yeah, a few CDs, yeah.
Okay, so study her stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, Doreen's awesome,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely awesome. I've seen her out in California, gone out twice out to Hawaii to study with her. Helped at Kripalu one time when she taught there. It's just, she is somebody who I trust.
Mhm.
So anything you can get your hands on by Doreen Virtue, then
Yeah, okay.
yeah, do that. It will help to develop that part of you. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah. Right. Anybody else got questions or anything? No? What are we looking at for time?
8 minutes.
8 minutes until?
Mm-hmm.
All right, then I'm gonna pick on somebody else. Somebody who I haven't heard from in quite some time, and she will kill me for doing this. Denise. Denise has gone through a lot because she had a knee replacement, which kind of stopped you literally dead in your tracks. Yes, after a succession of some other things within your life. So does this principle kind of trigger anything off in you?
No, but it was very funny because, when we used to do those guides,
Yep.
I forgot all about them. I mean, really forgot them. When we went into one of the chambers, they were. It's like, oh my gosh, I know you and you. I'm sorry, I can't remember. Remember the black guy that was big and strong? He was
Yes.
Big, yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, it was like good old home day.
And-
they
and-
never left. They were there, but I forgot about them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and did they say welcome home?
They said, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, they said I'd always been there, but I wasn't paying attention. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not paying attention. We all have helpers. If anybody thinks I am not worthy, no, that's wrong. Everybody is worthy. You will always have the help. And it's one of those things, you take one step towards spirit, spirit comes rushing to you. So your help is always going to be there. You just have to open up and say, I could use your help. All right, so I would say that's gonna wrap it up for now, unless anybody else would like to share. Carla? I just saw that. Yeah.
I think you're gonna knock me off the chair.
What did you see, Carla?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Seriously, I was so distracted, I was jumping from one thing to another and not even staying in a chamber.
Not even staying in a chamber?
Yeah.
Some of the things that you actually saw that distracted you?
I don't know. I mean, some of it was sounds like from other rooms. Like there was somebody laughing at one point hysterically and.
Really?
Well,
I didn't even
I
hear
didn't
that.
hear that either.
I heard that.
I didn't hear
in
that.
another room,
Oh,
somebody
wow.
was laughing Yeah, I was loudly.
Really?
just,
I didn't hear
Oh, I
that.
didn't hear him.
Oh,
You guys are
okay.
winning.
My first thought on that was
I
that
heard it.
there was another
Really?
like class going on and they were practicing laughing.
Oh, well, maybe.
Laugh out loud, it's so good for you, right? That's what it made me think of.
Really? Okay. So, Carla, do you mind if I talk about you for a second? All right.
I'm here.
It's my sister, she'll forgive me. Carla always has a lot on her plate. Always, because she's one of those caregiver people who doesn't necessarily handle receiving so well as far as caregiving goes. But she does push her way through it, which is good. What's not good is that you can't calm the mind so much because it's so full of trying to take care of other people. So to reach a point where you can actually sit quiet by yourself without a magazine. Okay, so here's a thing that I have, I don't even know if it's on my website anymore or anything, but I did a painting a long time ago of me standing up against a tree like this, and I put a journey tip on it that said the farthest journey that one can take is the one done while standing still with eyes closed. Because in doing that, there's no limit to where you can go or what you can accomplish while you're there. So that's the practice to try to be able to get into, is that, you know, and without an agenda of I'm going to close my eyes and do this. How about just closing your eyes and see where you can go? Going further than no man has ever gone before, you know. Seeking out new life and new civilizations. I was not a Trekkie, guys. Yes, I was. So, you know, you never know what you can do, and you might surprise yourself. And until we meet again, I will say, live on. All right. Thank you, guys.